What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the driver mod. Today we've got another how-to video on our 6.0 Power Stroke. We're kind of going to show you guys how to do a annual service on these trucks. Just your basic oil change and fuel filter maintenance. We're going to show you all the tools and equipment you're going to need to do this. It's very simple, guys. Definitely comment down below at certain timestamps at which you found this video helpful, if you found the information valuable. We greatly appreciate all your feedback. I always look forward to those comments. I try to get to each and every comment, guys. So if there's anything else you'd like me to possibly do on the channel, specifically regarding a Ford Power Stroke truck, please just drop that in the comments below. Let's get into it. This is my 2005 Ford F-250 Power Stroke. We've got the 6-liter turbo diesel in this truck. We're at 188,000 miles on the engine itself. It's deleted, it's tuned, and we've got a bypass coolant filter, as you can see right there, and we've got the Amsoil bypass filter set up, kind of mounted on the side there behind the grill. That bypass filter is awesome. Definitely increases the filtration efficiency of the truck, and the oil it stays clean for a super long period of time. Definitely highly recommend, if you have any modern diesel, especially one that's not deleted, definitely invest in a bypass filtration system. I'm going to leave links to the Amsoil website where you can get a bypass filtration system for your truck. Most of them are fairly plug and play. They're fairly simple to install. Now, getting into the tooling and fluids and filters you're going to need to perform this service. First off, you're going to need a basic set of hand tools. The drain plug, I believe, is a 3/4 inch socket. So we've got our hand tools set right there. You're going to need a funnel and a drain pan, one that can hold at least 16 quarts, because these trucks hold about 15. Now, another awesome thing with the Amsoil bypass filtration system is it increases the oil capacity of the system. So this truck takes almost 16 quarts of oil now that we're running that bypass filtration system, which just increases the protection and longevity of the oil. Now, moving into some of the other tooling you're gonna need a 36mm wrench, preferably a ratcheting one. It makes getting the primary fuel filter underneath the truck super easy to get to. Another tool that I've found super handy is this 24mm by 36mm socket, 3/8 drive. So on the 36mm side, you can use this to get access to the fuel filter as well. Or the 36mm is also conveniently the oil filter housing cap socket size. And then on the back side, your secondary fuel filter, that is a 24mm. So as you can see right here, 24mm for the secondary fuel filter and 36 for the oil filter socket, which is right there. Now again, we have the bypass filtration system, so we have to take that off in order to change that filter and use the 36mm. But here is the stock OEM oil filter housing cap, and the 36mm socket goes right on top of that. Again, links to both of these tools in the description below. Now, moving on to our fluids and filters, we've got our OEM. Here's the part number, FD-4616. These are the Ford Motorcraft OEM fuel filters. Amsoil doesn't make a fuel filter for these trucks. This is your primary and secondary all in one box. If you want to make sure you get these same exact fuel filters that I'm using for my truck, again, that will be linked in the description below. Here's our Amsoil high efficiency EA15K88 is the part number oil filter. Filters at 99% efficiency at 20 micron. So we're talking really, really fine particles here that these filters are able to get out without losing oil pressure. That's the key. You can have a high efficiency filter, but if you're losing oil pressure going through that filter media, then you're really hurting the engine more than you're helping it. So with the Amsoil filter, you're getting the best of both worlds. High efficiency and smaller particles. You're gonna need, again, 15 quarts of 15W40 engine oil. If you have a bypass filter set up on the truck, you might need a little bit more. Again, we need about 16 quarts almost to complete this oil change. And then I always like to run a good fuel additive, especially on a modern diesel. Diesel fuel quality in America is not regulated to anything over 40 cetane rating, and most diesel trucks, especially modern diesels with the high pressure fuel systems and all the emissions equipment, they need a cetane rating of 47 to 50 to run as clean and as efficiently as possible. So in order to achieve that cetane rating from the pump diesel, you actually need to add a cetane booster to your fuel every fill up. Otherwise, you're going to have lack of power, incomplete combustion, extra soot in the exhaust, which leads to more EGR recirculation, which is a vicious cycle where you have more exhaust going into the intake, which then adds more soot to the oil, which is abrasive, and that soot is what clogs up and destroys your engine. And then I always like to run a all-in-one as well. This is a cetane booster, an anti-gel if you live in colder weather climates. This also adds a lot of lubricity to the fuel, which is super important, especially again for these modern diesel systems. The only thing that's lubricating those high pressure fuel pumps is the diesel fuel itself. So again, a lot of diesel in America is poorly regulated and not of the highest quality. That leads to significant expensive repairs, guys. I'm talking $10,000 to $15,000 if you have one of your high pressure diesel fuel pumps fail on one of your modern diesel engines because it shoots metal all throughout the system. You've got to replace the injectors, the lines, the pump itself. Super expensive, guys. Ask anybody that has a CP4 pump in their modern Ford Powerstroke. They'll be able to tell you all about it. So again, lubricity, cleanliness, and cetane rating, super important for a modern diesel. All these products will be linked in the description below. Let's get into the service. Now, the first thing I like to do my fuel filters first. And I like to start at the bottom side, which is the primary filter. So we're gonna get under the truck and change that primary filter. So there is our primary fuel filter. It's in this entire housing right here, and it's to the left of your front drive shaft for your front axle. You got your 36mm head. Now also these trucks are equipped with a water separator drain valve. So this is to get any water if you have the water and fuel light pop up, or when you do this service, you're gonna wanna drain that to get as much of the fuel out of the housing as possible. If you don't regularly service this, this will seize and strip and you won't be able to drain it anymore. So it's definitely critical to make sure you're regularly servicing these trucks, otherwise this is going to seize up. So just take your 6mm Allen, and I like to put a wrench on the Allen key itself to help break it free. And there you go. And now we're going to want to move our drain pan over to catch the fuel that comes out. And just like that, guys, just let it drain out into your pan. Definitely recommend getting gloves for this. Always good to protect yourself from getting oils and fuels on your hands. While that's draining, you can go ahead and use your 36mm wrench or 36mm socket and go ahead and undo the fuel filter housing cap. Eventually, you can back it out enough to where you can loosen it by hand. So just reach up there and finish loosening it up. Now be mindful, more fuel is going to come out. This filter and filter housing holds a lot of fuel. As you can see right there. Just go ahead and pull that off. Usually the filter will stay inside the housing. So just reach up in there and wiggle it free. Just kind of give it a little twist and it'll pop right out. And there is your primary fuel filter / water separator. It'll go in, the new one, with the O-ring into the housing first. Now your diesel fuel filter kit is going to come with, you got your secondary filter, which is the smaller one, and then you've got your primary filter, which is the bigger one, and then you've got 2 cap O-rings in there. The bigger one is going to be for the primary filter, the smaller one for the smaller filter. So easy enough to remember. Here's what I mean. Here's the smaller O-ring. I'm just going to set that up here with the secondary fuel filter for when we do the top side, and then bring this down underneath the truck. All right, so replacement process is the opposite of the removal process. Go ahead and put the primary filter into the housing. It'll kind of snap into place. Put your new cap O-ring on the cap and thread it in by hand first, as far as you can. You can lubricate the O-ring with a little bit of diesel fuel. That'll help. And grab your 36mm wrench and tighten it down. Now you just have to tighten the cap up so that it bottoms out with the housing. It doesn't need to be super tight. Now just grab some brake clean and spray off all the diesel fuel that got over the bottom side of the truck. And then we'll go ahead, and since we're down here, we will go ahead and pull the drain plug and drain the oil. So again, 3/4 inch socket, go ahead and pull the drain plug. Make sure your drain plan is placed underneath. And there we go. Just go ahead and let that drain for a couple minutes. Once it gets to a point like this, we can go ahead and put the drain plug back in and clean it up and wipe it down. I just run it in by hand as far as I can. Wipe it down. Spray off the area. And now we can go up top and do our secondary fuel filter and oil filter. All right, now moving to the top side of the truck, we'll go ahead and start with the fuel filter, again using our 36mm, 24mm convo socket. It's a 3/8 drive. Just go ahead and put the 24 end on the fuel filter housing and break it free. Once you break it free, just kind of let it sit for a second, let the fuel in the housing drain back a little bit so you don't spill, and then finish taking the cap off. Now this filter, you also have to pay attention which way the filter is oriented. Just let as much of that drain as possible. Now in this filter, you'll see a shallow end and then a deep. This is the end that goes into the housing. The shallow end is the side that pops into the filter cap. You'll see that in a second. All right, so there it is. There's the deep side of the filter. So we'll go ahead and pop this out of the cap, and then we will replace the O-ring. Place our cap O-ring, put that down into the bottom groove. Right here, as far against the cap as possible. We'll stick our fuel filter into the cap. It'll kind of just like snap in place when you get it aligned right. It should sit vertically in the cap, and then you can take a little bit of fuel in that housing, lubricate the new O-ring, and then applying some pressure, you'll have to push down on the cap to get the threads started. Do this portion by hand as well. You do not want to strip these plastic threads. You'll kind of feel it almost like pop. Just work at it, be patient, but it'll go right down. And then using our cap socket again, go ahead and tighten it down. And as soon as it bottoms out with the housing, just give it a little bit. All right. So now our fuel system is completely serviced. Now we just got to finish changing the oil filter and adding our oil, and we'll be good to go. Now, if you don't have a bypass filter, this step is pretty straightforward. You're just gonna go ahead and flip your socket over that you just used for the secondary fuel filter and put it on the 36 end, and go ahead and undo your filter cap housing. We first have to get the bypass filtration system out of the way. So that's just a couple of small wrenches. So on the 6.0 Power Stroke, the oil feed line for the bypass filter is a 9/16. You just want to break that free, nice and easy. Just kind of tuck it out of the way, and then note the orientation of your bypass filter fitting to 7/16. Break that free and back that all the way out. Don't lose this, set that to the side. And now we can go ahead and use our 36mm socket to remove the oil filter housing cap. Once you open the cap, you can just back it out and let it drain and go get your oil filter. We have the filter element and our O-ring. So now we'll go ahead and take that all the way out, just pull it straight up. Now these filters actually lock into the caps. These caps can be used with OEM oil filters or the Amsoil filter itself. Go ahead and install our new O-ring. Take a little bit of oil residue that's in the cap itself, lubricate it, and then grab our filter element itself. The side with the plastic tabs goes into the housing and will snap into place. There's a plastic piece in here. Inspect that, check for damage. If it's been a long time since you replaced that, go ahead and replace that. One of those comes in the kit itself as well. I found I don't need to replace them every time. Go ahead, and there's some spring tension behind the filter housing, so go ahead and depress the spring and then begin threading the filter housing cap on by hand. And then finish tightening it with our 36mm socket. Bottom it out and give it a nice snug tug. Now, because we have the bypass filtration system installed, we're going to go ahead and reinstall our feed fitting. These are very fine threads, so take your time. And make sure we orient it the same direction it was. Go ahead and reconnect our feed line. Snug that down. And once you have that all back together, then you can go ahead and add your 15 to 16 quarts of 15W40 diesel engine oil. Again, we're using the Amsoil Signature Series diesel oil. This is the best stuff for your truck. Highly recommend using it. This truck's got 190,000 miles on it. Still on the original engine. It's had all the bulletproofing stuff done to it, but as far as the engine itself, rods, pistons, crank, turbo, all original thanks to Amsoil Signature Series. All right, we've gone ahead and add our oil. Go ahead and reseat the dipstick. Move our oil funnel. Put our cap back on. Double check our work. Now we're good to go ahead and get in the truck and we're gonna prime it a couple times. We're gonna cycle the key a couple times to get some fuel in the fuel system before trying to start it. I'll show you that right now. All right, so we're inside the truck. All we're gonna do is we're just gonna turn the key on, let it sit for like 10 seconds, and then shut it off. And we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're basically trying to get as much fuel into the fuel system as possible. One more time. On that third time, go ahead and attempt to start the truck. If it doesn't fire up immediately, don't be alarmed. And just like that, that fired up almost like it normally does. So go ahead and get out of the truck and check for leaks. No leaks found. So now we're going to move this on a level surface because we're out on my driveway and check the oil level. If the oil level's full, you're good to go. If it's not full, top off as needed. Now, as the last part of the service, we're going to go ahead and add our fuel additive. Now, the cool thing about the Amsoil ones is they actually give you a breakdown on the side of the bottle telling you how much of the additive to add depending on your fuel tank size. Now, for best results, you're definitely going to use these with every fuel tank. So as soon as you get to the fuel pump, go ahead, throw this in and then fill it up. That way it mixes with the entire tank and you'll be good to go. But we're just going to throw the rest of this bottle in this truck right now because we use this on a regular basis. This stuff's worked out pretty well for me. This truck is also on its original injectors at 188,000 miles. So definitely got a lot of good feedback and personal experience with this product. And they all seem to do what they claim to do. So yeah, guys, that's going to conclude our annual service on the 6.0 Powerstroke. Again, check out the links in the description below for all the tooling and products that we used in this video so you can do a service like this on your truck just like that. Let me know if you found this video helpful. Thanks for tuning into the Driver Mod. We'll see you on the next one.